Ever since Whole30 ended, and I could have goodies that you can't have on Whole30, and I'm not talking about bad things, I'm talking about stuff like muffins. You can't have things like that on Whole30, or even things that have healthy ingredients that mimic bad foods. Like you can't have pancakes, and you can't have muffins or cookies, even if they're made with like almond flour and stuff like that, because that's what Whole30 considers sex with your pants on, because you're not breaking that habit of eating things like that. Anyway, I found a recipe for almond flour of banana muffins, and they're kind of more like drop biscuits than they are muffins, but I have made them quite a few times, and Matt and I absolutely love them. And so I thought I would show you how I make them. Now, I like to make them with pecans, and unfortunately I am all out of nuts, and I can't just run to the store like I would normally be able to before all this stuff has gone on. So I'm just going to have to do it without nuts this time. But they're good without nuts. The first time I made them, I didn't have nuts to put in them, so they're good without. So I'm going to make them. So let's get started and I'll show you how. The first thing you need to do is you need to warm up some coconut oil. You need 1/4 cup of coconut oil, and it needs to be warmed and then cooled. Basically, you need to liquefy it. And you can put a jar of coconut oil in a pot of hot water or simmering water, and it will do the trick. So normally what I do is I just get a spoon and I just scoop some out and just fill up my little 1/4 cup thing. I'm getting low on coconut oil, which is not good. A little bit more than that. This should be about, that's about good enough. And so I'm just going to put it over here in this shallow pan, put it on a low heat, and let this start melting. And the good thing about coconut oil is it does liquefy fairly quick. I'm sorry about the lighting. It is nighttime, so I don't have any outside lighting to help out. And I'm sorry about the audio. I apparently need to put more water in my fish tank because it's excessively loud. I do want you to know that I have my oven preheating to 350. Actually, it just got through preheating, so it's actually on 350. And I have lined baking sheets with parchment paper. That is important. Now in this bowl, I'm going to put 3½ cups of almond flour. And you want to make sure that you get the blanched almond flour. I got this from Costco. This is the best buy on almond flour that you're going to find, because it's not cheap, but this is worth it. So I'm just going to use my half a cup and just, okay. One. Two. Three. And a half. So there we have 3½ cups of almond flour, and it does have little lumps in it, but they're not like solid lumps. They break up as soon as you pick them up. They fall apart. That's just the nature of almond flour. To this, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Make sure it's soda and not powder. I love my pink salt. Also to this is my personal preference, I like to add cinnamon. It's really good with cinnamon in it. And then we're just gonna give this a mix. And we're going to set this aside. Now in this bowl, I'm going to crack 2 large eggs. You're actually supposed to put your banana in first, but I'm cracking the eggs in first. That way if there's any shells or anything, it doesn't get in with the rest of it. Now to this, you're supposed to add 2 ripe large bananas. Now these bananas are kind of small, on the small medium side, so I'm actually going to add 3. I added 3 last time and they were superb. Now it's very important when you're making this, because this does not have any sugar in the recipe, you want to make sure that your bananas are basically banana bread consistency. You want them to have a lot of brown on them, that way all those sugars have developed really nice and they'll mash up a lot better. And that way the sweetness actually just comes from the bananas alone and you're not missing anything else. So I'm just gonna break these up in with the eggs. Banana. The dog is standing at the threshold of the living room in the kitchen because she knows she's not supposed to come in here. So she stands with her feet right on the edge. She stands right at the edge of the carpet and stares at me. You're a good girl. One more banana. I can feel her eyes boring through me. She is staring me down. Oh my gosh. Whew, those are nice mushy bananas. Okay, the coconut oil has completely melted, so I'm going to let that cool down a little bit because obviously if you put something hot in with eggs, it can cook the eggs. So I'm just going to mash this up with the eggs. Now, extract is not part of the recipe, but I do like to add a little vanilla. This is probably it for my vanilla. So I just went ahead and added the rest of my vanilla in there. And I'm just going to finish mixing it up. You just want it to be nice and mushy. And then to this, I'm going to slowly drizzle this in so that it doesn't scramble my eggs. Just going to slowly stir, drizzle and stir, stir and drizzle. Wow, that coconut heated up smells so good. One thing I love about coconut oil, the whole thing just goes out so nice. Okay, now to this, we're going to add all the dry ingredients at once. And one thing that I really love about this, because it's almond flour, you can stir the dickens out of it and you don't have to worry about it getting tough because there's no gluten. It'll start looking like you'll think, wow, but it's really a nice consistency when it cooks. See, it looks kind of a little pasty. And then if you have nuts, once you get this mixed in, that's when you add your half a cup of chopped nuts. I prefer pecans. I'm not a huge walnut person. These are so simple. 2 of them, even though they're not big, 2 of them will really fill you up, and they're fantastic for breakfast. So all I'm going to do now is just take a spoonful, just like that. Just slide it off the spoon onto the pan. These spread out a little bit, but not a whole lot, so you don't have to get them real far apart. now that I have these two pans done, I'm just going to pop them in the oven. The original recipe calls for 17 minutes, and let me tell you something, that is nowhere near enough time. My oven is kind of cool, so it usually takes a few minutes longer anyway, and I have found the sweet spot for my oven is 24 minutes. But if I were you, I would start at least 20 minutes and then check them, because at 17 minutes, the insides were not cooked at all. So I don't know if that person had just a really hot oven or what, but that don't work for me. Now when the tops have golden brown peaks, they're usually done. I'm going to put the rest of this in the fridge. Alright, let's check these. It's been 24 minutes. Oh yeah. Oh, these look and smell so good. See the brown tops, and they're firm, they spring back a little bit. They're absolutely done. You know what, the lighting in here does not do these justice. They are golden brown and beautiful. And I'm leaving the oven on because I have enough to make one more pan, a short pan, after these cool enough for me to lift them off and put them on a rack, which is the next thing I'm actually going to do. So I'm naughty. I don't usually let them cool too long before I pick them up and put them on the rack, but that's really because I want to get the other batch in the oven. But I will let the pan cool just for a couple of minutes before I put the next batch on. See, look at these. They're brown on the bottom. The points of brown on the top. Now, I do have to tell you this about these. If you put these in an airtight container, they will go soggy overnight. Have you ever made banana bread and then you wrapped it up in something, or you put it... I usually keep my banana bread inside of a one of those cake carriers, and it loses its crust by morning time and gets a little sticky, soggy. These get a little soggy if you put them in a container, so I actually just leave them on the rack and just leave them out, and they're fine. That way they keep a little bit of their crunch on the outside, and the inside is nice and chewy. And I'll show you the inside once I break these open, so we'll be back in just a second. Okay, I got the other batch in. I want to show you what these look like up close. Can you see all those like little golden, they're crispy on the outside, and then when you break it open, ooh, I see that steam coming out. It's real bready and cakey. Because the banana's a little bit mushy, at first, you'll think, are these done on the inside? They are done. Not at 17 minutes. But, okay, this is how the flavor goes. When you first bite into them, you get all that sweetness of the banana. And then it finishes off with the almond flavor, the almond flour flavor. So it's kind of odd in a way because they're extremely moist on the inside, but they're also dry because the almond flour. So it's really hard to explain. They're sweet and they're not sweet. They're extremely, extremely moist, but they're dry. It's like they start sweet and moist and they finish dry and almondy. Does that make sense? But out of the kitchen. Now.
Out where?
But I will tell you, these are a great little snack. Now, they do have some calories to them. Actually, I'll get my, I have the calories on these in the recipe, in I can't freaking talk. I will say that these are absolutely delicious with coffee. And I'm going to show you, banana. Almond flour, no sugar banana muffins. According to MyFitnessPal, serving size is 1 muffin. I eat 2. The calories are 222 calories for 1 muffin. Total fat is 21.6 grams. And I'm not even sure if this is right for this recipe, because 21 grams of fat for one muffin made with coconut oil seems really high. Four grams of 1 gram of sugar, that's natural sugar from the banana. 4 grams of fiber. So there's, see, 2.6 grams of carbs, but because you have 4.4 grams of fiber, you're actually negative 2.2 grams of carbs. So these are what's called negative carbs. And then 13 grams of protein. So that's according to MyFitnessPal, and I do put that in as two. And usually when I eat these, I have them with black coffee. They're really good. Oh, see this one? You can see like a little chunk of banana right there. Oh my gosh. I really wish I had nuts, because I do love that, the crunch that it gives and the nuttiness of the pecans finishes after the sweetness of the bananas. Then you have that nuttiness that mixes with the almond. It's very good. But anyway, those are, you know, I really don't even think it's fair to call these muffins. These are really banana drop biscuits. They're drop biscuits. But there you have it, almond flour, no sugar, banana drop biscuits. If you're craving something a little sweet and a little naughty, or something good for breakfast and you miss your biscuits but you're not doing gluten, these are fantastic. Me and Matt absolutely love them. And hey, and if you want to be a little naughty and you have some semi-sweet chocolate chips, mix them in a little bit. You can do that. I'm personally not, because I'm trying to watch my sugar still, but I won't tell if you don't tell. And I'll see you next time. This is Aloha Laura saying, make your own adventure, unlock your own adventure, even if it's in your own kitchen. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Okay, so I was like, 222 calories for one biscuit seems like a lot. And so I went and looked, and my default, because I always have to, was 2. So 222, they're actually 111 calories a piece. So there you have it. You'll be negative carbs if you have 2. But yeah, actually you should still be negative carbs if you have, I don't math, and I'm not mathing. But yeah, the 222 calories was for 2 biscuits. I just wanted to make that clear.